are live. Hey y'all, what's up? Comment in the comment box if you can hear us. We want to make sure you can hear us well. Tune in. Cookie, check on yours to see if you can see
Yes, it's up and running.
I am so excited to start. Y'all already know we've been talking about this for a long time about doing a Q&A, a live stream on YouTube. And I am ready to answer your questions. We are here. We do have some special guests to answer some questions for us. And we about to have a good night, right?
Yes, we are.
We're about to have
night.
an amazing night, and I am so ready. Obviously, everyone knows what's taking place with the pandemic. We are quarantined. We can't go nowhere. So usually, CSB Legacy, we usually have the Young Women's Circle where we go to different events. We have different events. We choose different places to go to, and we sit down and we talk as young women about different things that we're going through. So
Yes.
obviously, unfortunately, we cannot do what we planned, but that is not going to stop us. We're going to stay connected. We're going to encourage each other and make sure that we get through this strong. Amen. So I just want to make sure that everyone can hear. At this time, you already know that we have been promoting, we're going to give out monetary giveaways to the person that brings the most viewers to join. So I am looking, and I'm going to see who it is that's going to be bringing their guests. So how we're going to find out is the person, every viewer is going to comment in the question comment box who invited them. So we'll know exactly how much, basically how to tally it, and who to give the giveaway prize to. So if you want that prize, we're not going to tell you how much, but if you want that prize, we definitely have it for you. So we're going to give y'all a few. We're going to give y'all like 60 seconds. You're going to see a countdown, and we're going to start back. All right? Are you guys hearing us now? All right, so we're gonna try that again. So, some of the viewers did say that they weren't able to hear.
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So we were basically asking her how is her marriage going. So she's going to be answering questions on her relationship. So she got married June 8th, 2020, and she is about to make
2018.
yes 2018, and she is about to make 2 years coming up very soon. And so the question we had asked her is how is it going. So can you answer that really quickly? Because they didn't hear you. So
Oh, you were asking. I'm sorry. What was the question?
yes, how did it go the day of your marriage? Like when you got married, how was it?
The day of my wedding was, I mean, everything that I could, imagine. I mean, it took a lot of hard work for us to, I guess, see our vision come to pass. But of course, that's just the wedding day.
Okay.
There's so much that you have to put into the actual marriage. So we were very intentional about building up our relationship leading up to that wedding day. And then, of course, after the wedding day, having to definitely put in the work because, every relationship, you have to put work in order to make it work.
Right. Okay. And the next question is, what was your process from your past relationship? Obviously, you did go through a lot of relationships before you got to this current relationship now. So tell us a little bit
Right.
about your process from your previous relationship to your current relationship right now.
Okay, so the process. I mean, at one point, of course, I just was in, relationships with people just to be in relationship with people. Sometimes I feel like we all go through that phase. It's like, you're in a relationship, but you're not really supposed to be in that relationship. It's like you end up compromising a lot
Right.
or you're complacent. So, in those other relationships prior to marriage, I mean, it taught me a lot. I feel like every relationship teaches you something. So I don't regret any.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I thank God that I found the person that He has for me.
I like that. I definitely like that. So you did mention God in there. So tell me a little bit about your relationship with God leading up to this current relationship. So did God kind of give you like
So
signs?
leading up to the current relationship, I mean,
Okay.
I would say my relationship with God has always been, a consistent one.
Okay.
Of course, there are times where, I should pray, but I'm not praying as much as I should have. But, always throughout my life, there was always a consistency in my relationship with God. And, that helped navigate my way through different relationships. And also, that was my safety net in terms of like where, figuring out which direction I should go in next. Or, God, if this isn't for me, send me a sign, let me know, cut it off, and yeah, I think that your relationship with God plays a significant role in terms of where you go and the decisions that you make.
Right. Exactly. I definitely like that. All right. We're gonna ask you one more question. Um, Hold on. One more question. And tell us a little bit about your your process with your self-worth, because I know that there's a lot of relationships that we've been in our life that was, let's say, toxic or not the one
Right.
for us. So sometimes we kind of fall into a trend where we're going for the same type of people constantly.
Right.
And where did you know you needed to draw the line and seek seek time for yourself, I should say.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because self-worth is very important, and it definitely plays a major role in,
Right.
the boundaries that we set in the relationships that we go into, or in general, in terms of what we allow, what we accept.
Right.
So I would say, of course, like growing up, like, I was always like taught, okay, value yourself, be confident, even when you don't feel confident, you better be confident. So it's like that self-worth was like implemented into me at a young age. But then, of course, like, you go into different relationships and then you're treated a certain way, or you're spoken to a certain way, or you're curved a certain way, and then it's like, okay, whoa. So a lot of the times, I would say like maybe in college or in my teenage years, I've settled at some point in time.
Okay.
But at some point, I think you just get tired, and you're like, okay, I'm just done settling. I know what I deserve.
Right.
This is not it. I was not taught to, take any less than I'm worth. And it was just like a point where I just got tired. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not taking certain things, and anyone that's going to try to come and, marry me or date me, they have to treat me the way that I deserve.
Right.
Right.
I like
So
that.
I'm setting the standard on like how you treat me, and if you're not willing to treat me the way I deserve, then it's okay. Then
Right.
it's just not meant to be. We could agree to disagree, and you could go your way, I could go mine.
Yeah.
So,
I
and then,
like that.
the thing is sometimes that could be a lonely road, so there were times, of course, where it's like, okay, like, okay, you want to treat me like that? Okay, goodbye. Sometimes goodbye is not an easy thing,
Right.
but
Exactly.
in the long run, it's worth it,
Right.
because you're making that decision to love yourself.
Right. I like that.
Even if the other person is not showing you the love that you deserve, you're making that decision like, okay, well, I'm going to love me. If you're not going to love me, I'm going to show you what it is to love me.
Yeah.
I'm not taking that.
I like that.
So that's basically it. And I came to this point where it's like, I think I was maybe like 22, 23, and I'm just like, God, I know it's your will to be, for me to be married. So whoever the right person is, send that person. Whoever's the wrong person, dismiss them. I don't want to waste my time.
Right.
And like any guy that was coming to try to talk to me, I'm like asking certain questions and letting them know, listen, the next person that I date and I call my boyfriend, that person is going to be my husband. I'm not just dating to just date. I'm
Right.
dating with
Right.
a
I like
purpose, and my purpose is going to be to get married. We're not playing games. I'm not trying to be anyone's baby mother. I'm sorry, no offense to anyone who has kids, that's fine. But at the end of the day, we have to set the standard in our own life for what we want for ourselves.
Right.
And no one should be setting that standard for us.
And you made a valid point. I like that. You have to set the standard, and especially as a woman, a lot of times we don't really understand that we have so much power. So whatever we give off, sometimes that's basically what we're allowing a man to treat us as. And so we need to know, okay, where the line draws in some cases.
Right.
And I like what you said, that you had to say, okay, listen, if you here playing games, like you gotta move back. Or people that's trying to date you, you gotta let them know, listen, I'm serious, and whoever is going to be the next person that I date is someone that I'm going to marry. So that is definitely something that I like. And the next question is, what can you tell a young woman that's watching now about their self-worth and the importance of it? Because obviously it is important. And if you don't realize how significant your self-worth is, you can tend to be in the same reciprocal situation all the same time, all the time.
Yeah.
So what can you tell a young woman that's listening right now about their self-worth?
Well, at the end of the day, like I said, you set your own standard. You set the standard of how people will treat you, of how anyone will treat you, whether it be in a relationship or in a friendship. You set the standard, and you have to know in yourself, that I am worth it. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, I'm not ugly. I mean, if you're not attracted to me, that's up to you. But I know what I have. I know what I bring to the table. I know the good qualities that I have within myself. Yes, I may have my flaws. Yes, I may have my moments and my areas of weakness, but my strengths outweigh those weaknesses.
Right.
And, it's just an encouragement that, God loves you, and, you have to see yourself in the eyes of God.
Right.
Sometimes we look at ourselves and we're just like seeing all the negative things or listening to the negative things that people have to say about us.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to search deep down inside yourself and find things about yourself that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Even the things that you may not love, or even the things that, are a weakness. Try to make it a strength, but you have to value you. If you don't value you, no one else will.
Right.
No one else
I like that. Ooh. I'm about to write that down. Hold up.
for anyone to devalue you. And without self-worth, you are leaving that room.
Mm-hmm. I like that. If you don't value you, no one else will. Honestly, that I like that. That's deep. That's deep by itself. So we thank you, Carlos. So we're gonna talk about our relationship with God, because as young people in society, we believe that we should be exempt in a sense, and I feel like everyone had a moment in time where they felt like, okay, I'm young, so I have so much time in the world, and I don't really, I can live my life, do what I got to do, and when I get older, I could get right with God. So, tell us a little bit about that, because I know you probably had those type of thoughts sometime in your life. So, how important is your relationship with God?
I think your relationship with God, my relationship with God, is one of the most important, or if not the most important relationship that you could ever have.
Right.
Like, your relationship with God sets the tone for your life. It sets the tone for other relationships. I mean, some people say, okay, maybe you're just a Christian, you're just saying that, but it's like, it's the truth. Like, when you find God, like, He gives you direction for your life. Like I told you, when I was getting tired of certain, relationships, even friendships, like getting tired of certain friendships, like, why are people always trying to play me? Like, what is this? Like, God, what is this? Like, God, show me the right friends to keep around me. Like, who's for me? Like, let them be for me. Who's not for me? Please let them drop like flies. Like, I don't want anybody around me that is, that is not going to help me to get to the next level.
Right.
So when you have God in your life, it makes things just much more easier. It allows things to flow a lot better, because we are here and we see the here and now, but God sees like the beginning to the end. So like, some relationships that got cut off for me, in terms of like friendships, or even like, intimate relationships, if they got cut off, it's like, oh, why is it getting cut off? God, why? But then you're only seeing the here and the now, but God is seeing like the next
future.
year from now, or the next 2 years from now, or the next 10 years from now. So He knows why He's doing what He's doing, and He's orchestrating behind the scenes. And when you have God in your life leading you, it just makes things so much easier.
It is true. It's really true.
I guarantee you that. I mean, it's the best relationship you can have.
You can definitely have.
It's not going to be a perfect one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be a perfect relationship, because sometimes, I may forget to say a prayer today, and then I catch myself like, okay, I didn't pray this morning. Okay, let me try to pray before I sleep. It's not going to be a perfect relationship, but God is not looking for perfect people.
Right.
He's just looking for that willing heart to actually want Him.
Mm-hmm. I like that. All right. So you can stay on the line, but I also want to ask Kamara, because she's here with us. So Kamara, introduce yourself real quick.
Hi, for those who don't know, my name is Kamara. I'm 20 years old, from New York. You want me to answer the question?
Yeah. So like, how important is your relationship with God? Because like I just explained, in some parts of our life, we do have these moments where we think that, okay, we can live our life, and we can wait until we get older to kind of get serious about our walk with God. So tell us a little bit about how important is your relationship with God.
Okay, so for starters, my relationship with God is very important to me. It's literally the number one relationship in my life, and it should be the number one in anybody's life.
Right.
And that's period. I feel like over the years, I've grown closer to God.
Okay.
But I would say my current relationship with God, it's developing, but it's not where it's supposed to be.
Okay.
I should say. But I don't want to say. How do I put this? So we started a church. We're a part of a church, and we're praise and worship leaders, and we are we carry the service in worship, I should say. But I would say that we came from a church, growing up in a church, and I would say I didn't really have much of a relationship with God. Church was just a place. Okay, this is a chill out spot. I used to be upset that I didn't go to church. Not because I'm not meeting with God, but because I'm not going to see my friends.
And
you understand
social,
what I'm saying?
right?
It was more so of a social hour
than
a time for me to connect with God. So I would say when I became a praise and worship leader, when I became understood the importance of worship and connecting with God and getting a relationship with God, that's when I started to get more serious in my walk with Christ. So currently, it's developed. It got better, but there's still room for growth because I feel like no relationship with God is perfect. But
I like
room
that
for growth.
I definitely like that because that's showing that you're being transparent. And you know, a lot of people kind of live in this like, oh, you know, I'm good, everything's good, my relationship with God is perfect. And listen, our relationship with God can always get better. And I like that we can be real with each other and let people know, okay, you know, listen, like I have a relationship with God, but there is more that to it. There's more that I have to do. There's more that He can do within me. You know, that I'm still growing. I'm still developing into the person that He wants me to be. So there is a lot more growth. And I definitely I like this conversation because as young people, we do feel like we have all the time in the world, and especially during this time shows us that no person is exempt from death. And I don't want to be morbid, but I want to be real. Because, of course, the whole coronavirus, we know that it's not just older people dying from it. It's younger people, too. We heard about 20-year-olds. I'm 20.
11-year-olds.
Yeah, 11-year-olds. I'm 23, you know? And, you know, this is something that is like, rare, that we never experienced ever in our lifetime. And right now is a time where we need to get closer to God. We need to make sure that our eternal life is sealed. We need to make sure that, you know, we have a proper relationship, that God knows us, that He doesn't, when we come before Him, that He don't deny us. You know what I'm saying? So I know that, you know, that a lot of people are having questions about God, especially during this time. But I do encourage every person that's on here right now, the ones that's joining in later, to get closer to God, because God is the best relationship that you can ever have. Everybody wants to have a girlfriend, everybody wants to have a boyfriend, everybody wants to have friends, but God is more important than them. Friendships is just for this lifetime. God is eternal. And that's something that I need y'all to remember, that God is always going to be there. God does not change. God, when friends change on us, when relationships and these guys or these girls change on us, God does not. Exactly. God is always there. He never changes on us. So I just want to encourage every person that is watching and viewing. And I want to open it up for questions. If you have any questions, just comment in the comment box. I'm gonna give you about 60 seconds. You can. We're gonna give you 60 seconds. We still have Carlos on the line. She can definitely help answer some questions for us. We are looking and viewing to see who is here and who is going to ask questions. So it can be pertaining to what we spoke about relationships. Amongst, you know, let's say if you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend, or your relationship with God. So those are the two that we're going to focus on, and even your relationship with yourself, because you having a relationship with yourself is also important as well. So that is definitely something you can ask about. So we're going to give y'all a few minutes
Okay. So I wanted to add on to while we're waiting for the viewers to ask questions. So I wanted to add on to what I said about my relationship with God and how it's, developing.
Okay.
So I kind of went through like this phase because, as I said before, we are praise and worship leaders. And I kind of went through this phase where I was kind of mixing up my worship with my relationship with God, if you understand what I mean.
Okay.
Like, I was worshiping every Sunday, but then again, there was like no relationship. You understand what I'm saying? So I was under the impression that, okay, I'm a praise and worship leader. I'm leading people every Sunday into worship. But, I'm set. My relationship with God is set. If I go tomorrow, I should be going to heaven. But that's not the case. I feel like we tend to confuse our roles as worship leaders with our relationship with God.
That's true.
Because if you don't make that connection and read the word and pray to God every night, it doesn't even have to be like 5 times a day or like 10 times a day, but at least make that, connection. Be like, okay, God, I'm sorry I didn't wake up and, pray to you this morning, but I'm coming before you today. I apologize. I surrender. You know what I'm saying? But before I didn't have that connection. You understand what I'm saying? But of course, over the time, that developed. I just wanted to throw that in there.
That's good. I like that. I like that. And I was about to say something because you had mentioned say what you had said in regards to kind of confusing. Okay, listen, I'm serving in the church. I'm doing this. I'm living a good life. A lot of people say I'm living a good life, so I should get to heaven. Listen, living a good life, that's good. That's a part of it. But having a relationship with God is what you need to have. And so it's like, okay, let's say picture this. This is a scenario for y'all to think about. If you have a house, right? And Kamara knows of someone, and let's say if that person just start randomly just opening up her door and wanting to come in her house, and she has no relationship with her, so it's like, okay, it's like a friend. It's like, okay, who are you? Like, where are you going? We don't have any conversations, so not everybody brings people into their house that they don't know or they don't have a relationship with, so it's just think of that when you think of God. How do you expect to get to his kingdom and you don't have a relationship with him? So we thinking about it different. We thinking about it in the wrong way. We need to know that our relationship with God is what we need to have to enter heaven.
Right.
So do we have any questions online yet?
Let me see. No questions yet. Just Javon said, "Hey you guys, what's good, y'all?" And Shama said, "What's good, guys?" He said the same thing.
So hey y'all. That's a question. What's up? All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about self-worth. Okay. So Carlos made mention to it. Carlos, are you still there? Carlos? Okay, when she gets on. All right. We made reference to self-worth. So Cookie, Kamara, tell us a little bit about your self-worth. And
Yes, I'm still here.
okay, good. So Kamara is going to respond. She's going to talk a little bit about her self-worth.
Kamara, tell us a little bit.
Oh yeah, take it off the speaker, Carlos.
Go ahead.
Okay, my self-worth, that is something that I take extremely serious.
Okay.
I would say I'm the type of person, I have a very low tolerance level because I don't accept any and anything because I know my worth and I know what I am worth. Okay. So snap
at that.
And it's not even with just relationships, but with friendships as well. Okay. Because self-worth can apply in friendships as well, because some friends don't treat friends the way they're supposed to be treated. Right. So just because they're a friend doesn't mean you have to stay. Exactly. It's okay to let some friends go because not everybody deserves to be in your life. You have to put yourself at a certain standard and know, okay, I can't accept this. I can't be a part of this crowd. You can't. Listen, the quote, it sounds a little bougie, but you can't sit with me because we don't look at stuff the same way. We're not going down the same path. Your worth is not my worth, clearly. So. I take my self-worth pretty serious.
Okay, I like that. I like that you made, and that's important as well, because self-worth comes in every shape and form. Friendships, relationships, and even with yourself as well.
Right.
How you carry yourself is who you attract, and that's what I was also told as well. And so even with how you carry yourself, carrying yourself, it makes is so important, I should say.
Yeah.
But that's for another day. We're gonna keep that for another day. But I want to talk about mine, okay? Because I was asking y'all about your self-worth, but I want to talk about mine because there, like you mentioned, and like I was saying before, that sometimes we tend to fall into the same pattern of kind of drawing the same crowd to,
Same people.
same people to you. And there was a moment in time where I had to distance myself because I knew that it was important for me to reevaluate myself and reevaluate the reason as to why I attract certain people to be around me. And it was in every aspect, not just obviously with myself and friendships and stuff like that, but I took time to myself to kind of look at the things that I like, look at the things that I dislike, and but I worked on loving myself. And loving yourself plays a major factor in everything. If you don't love yourself, people can just sense that, like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, okay, it's just like they sense it. You would think that, okay, they would be sympathetic, they would,
Nah. They say you don't love
feed
yourself,
on
why would
that.
I can't respect you if you don't respect
Yeah,
yourself.
right. So they feed on it, and it's just like, no. So you have to. Work on loving yourself, and so
Yeah.
I took time to love myself. I took time to talk to God, and during that time, my relationship with God got stronger because I was able to rely on Him and focus more on Him than on the things that didn't matter.
Right.
And that's when I was able to be more confident in my gifts, more confident in my talent, more confident in myself, and working on those specific areas that was showing insecurity and make it a strength. And sometimes we know we are beautiful, but we all have these moments where we have some insecurity in some
Yeah.
type of way. So it is very important that we look into those insecurities and make sure we work on those insecurities and make sure that it becomes a strength.
Right.
It's important. It's something that's very important. And because the enemy, trust me, he knows exactly what to
Throw at you.
what to throw at you, and which
And who to throw.
and who to throw,
to throw
and
it.
what insecurity to
Yeah.
touch. So if you have a issue with, let's say, if you have an issue with loving how you look or your weight or stuff like that, he would make sure he sends somebody to throw some negative comments or to make jokes or say something
Just
to
to
make
discourage you.
just to discourage you.
Yeah.
So I think that working on yourself and working on those insecurities is something that's very, very important. Very important. Carlos, I want to ask you a little bit about that as well, because we didn't really kind of talk about it with you. You just spoke about your relationship with God, of course, a little bit about your self-worth, but talk about those moments where you kind of worked on loving yourself a little bit more before getting into another relationship, or the relationship that you knew that was for you.
Well, I would say it was a struggle earlier on in terms of like my teenage years going into my early 20s.
Okay.
But, I think I alluded to it, like it came a point in time where I was just like, okay, got to get this together, because I feel as though when you yourself don't value you, or you yourself don't work on your self-worth, you leave room for people to disrespect you or treat you in any which way. And
Right.
then, you know, it's like, okay, you can't blame them because you yourself are not valuing you. So I like what you guys had said. I think Chad, you had mentioned, like, you know, sometimes you pull back and you take time to yourself to, like, reevaluate. Like, I feel like that is so important. And I think that in our society, we're so busy, we're always on the go, that we don't pull back and take that time to ourselves to say, okay, what are my strengths? What are my shortcomings that I need to work on to be a better me?
Right.
Evaluate your friendships. Like, okay, this person, that person, you know, relationships, this person, that person. And then just set in certain standards for yourself. Like, okay, this is my standard for the type of friends that I want to let into my life. This is the standard that I am trying to set for the male or the female that I'm letting into my life. And write down those standards. I'm not saying to, like, have the highest of high standards, like, okay, he needs to be, you know, the president of the United States,
Right.
you know, but actual standards, like, you know, simple, like kind-hearted, vision-oriented. He needs to be compassionate, or she needs to be loving. She needs to be, you know, working towards her goals.
Right.
Like, setting the standards, you know, for what you allow to come into your life is a reflection of how you value you.
Okay.
So,
I like that.
yeah, it was a work in progress for me. But I think, like I said, at one point I just got tired, and I'm like, listen, you know, I gotta love me, and if that means gotta cut you off because I love me.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, so not being afraid to say goodbye.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
I think that we
hard.
all have that moment. Yes, it is hard. And we all have that moment that it's just like, okay, you know, it's the fear. I think that sometimes cutting off someone is kind of like the fear of being alone or not finding somebody on our timing.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
it's like even with friendships, like sometimes you know certain friends are not for you, and just because you're afraid of being by yourself, you're afraid of not having any friends, you tend to stay around when really and truly they're not helping you at all. You know, they're doing more damage to you staying than them you letting them go. And that goes for relationships as well. And so sometimes people stay in relationships, and it's like, okay, you're staying with this person, and you just have this feeling of fear because it's like you feel like you can't get better than what you're receiving at the moment, and the devil's a liar.
Right.
That's not true.
Exactly.
It's not true at all.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
absolutely right. It
that's
does come out
definitely a
of
fact.
fear. And, you know, that's why I said, like, sometimes it could be a lonely road.
Right.
Sometimes, because it's like, when you start putting down your foot, it's like, okay, I'm not taking that. I'm not dealing with that. Or when you're forced to walk away from a certain group of friends because
Right.
you're not treated the way that you're supposed to be, or their values just don't align with yours. You know, sometimes it can get lonely, and, you know, we don't talk about it. We just kind of roll with the punches, but it's true, and that's where the fears come from, because you don't want to be lonely.
You don't.
But, you know, sometimes finding your self-worth means pulling back and being by yourself and really reevaluating you.
Right.
You know,
And but that's
usually
that's where
those
God
moments,
comes in,
that's
though.
when God is speaking to us the most.
Yeah.
We're so caught up on the fact that we're lonely that we don't, you know, open our ears to hear
what
he's
he
trying
has to say.
in those moments.
It's so true. It's so true. I definitely like that. And sometimes when we have those feelings of loneliness, that's exactly where God comes in. And even though he's there all the time, that is where he is just there with you, like, no matter what. So sometimes even when I had to realize that I had to be by myself and I had to take care of myself, and I knew that God was with me during that season of my life. And I, you know, listen, I did. After a while, I did not have a problem with it. You know, of course, the first 2 weeks is like, you know, dang, you know, I wish, you know, I still had this person around me and stuff like that. And you know, after a while, having that relationship with God and having that closure really, really makes it a huge impact. Huge impact. And so we're actually tuning in live on Facebook as well right now. And so we're going to wait a little bit for the viewers to come on YouTube. And we're waiting for the viewers to come on the Facebook live stream as well. Okay? Okay, so y'all can give me your questions. We're not going to be on here too long. We're going to be on here for, let's say, like another 20-25 minutes. And we still have some viewers. If you want to say anything in the comment box, please say what you have to say, and we'll be sure to answer your questions. And while we're waiting for people to join, we're going to talk a little bit about obviously the plan for this CSB Legacy, because we've been promoting it. Last year we did have an opening. This is actually the poster that we have here, if you see it, the grand opening of CSB Legacy Young Women's Circle. And what we do in this circle is we keep it real. Y'all see that we keep it real. We definitely keep it real. I want to show the viewers here too. We keep it real, and that's definitely important. And the main goal is to create a safe space for everyone to be able to talk about things that we can't necessarily talk about with our parents, or talk about with some of our friends. So I think that this is going to be something great, especially during this time. Sometimes people are having lonely feelings, and just creating that safe haven for people to be able to talk about what they're going through, and kind of get that closure in a sense. So so Carlos, I know you was at the other event, so talk a little bit about how you enjoyed the last CSB Legacy event in September.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it was a very powerful event. A lot of, just to see a lot of young women come together and just talk and keep it real with each other about some of the, the daily struggles that we go through,
Right.
Whether it be like in relationships, insecurities, even just like with school or at work, just anything. Like the topics is pretty extensive. There's no limit to what we talk about. So I think that it's a great safe space, and it's a great support group. Where sometimes we have so many people around us, but we don't know who to really talk to, and who to open up to about what we're really dealing with.
Right.
So having that safe space is definitely necessary, and I think it's a good thing that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we are going to we're about to end it here, okay? But we thank you all for joining. We want to do this every single week. This was basically, the intro of what we're going to be doing for the next few weeks. So we thank you for everyone that joined, and we are going to try this again next week. So thank you, Carlos, for being our guest today, for talking about your relationship with God, talking about your relationship with your husband, and also talking about self-worth and letting us know that your self-worth is important, and the power is in your hands. So, of course, I did have a lot of young men join. So next week, we are going to also get more in depth and have it from a male's perspective as well, right? And we're going to, we're going to get a little bit more interesting, right? So we want y'all to tune in. If y'all are not following the Young Women's Circle page, this Young Women's Circle page is c.s.b_legacy. And it is also on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Young Women's Circle page, and it is CSB Legacy. All right. So I'm going to say it again, CSB Legacy. And for Instagram, it is c.s.b_legacy. We love y'all for supporting, and we want this to continue. Stay safe, be blessed, stay healthy. We love you. Peace.
Love you.
It's c.s.b_legacy.